Here we bask in the sun on top of KOLI in this beautiful Finland-Karelia landscape with the rest of the tourists of whole northern Karelia. If we came here about 200 years ago, or say 400 years ago, these people wouldn't be so eager to be here. So take me back there, please. Okay, but back then, before the 1700s or so, this was a playground for witches and seers and powerful spirits, and a very feared place where very few were eager to step upon. This hilltop right here is called KOLI. Ukko was the highest of Finnish deities. He resides in heaven, and this is pretty much as close as you can get to him around here. Ukko, of course, wasn't the only deity that was worshipped here, and my mission is to provide you with a little bit of insight to the spiritual side of KOLI and this landscape of Finland-Karelia. Mustarinta, it means black chest in Finnish. It's a very describing name to those who look at this place from across the lake over there, where most of the population lived back up until the 1800s or so. So if you look at it from over there, this hill here creates a very deep shadow and it looks very black and dark. Very few people dared to come here back in those days because it was a place for spirits and witches and gods and all that is very fearsome. Black chest is also a name of a bear, and as you can see, this rock here is called Black Chest, and it resembles the bear that is guarding over this landscape. There's a little cave under the bear. Let's have a look at it. Just a lovely little cave here under the head of the bear. And a very nice view. We're coming to the so-called sacrificial rift or crack, or whatever it is in English. Rift? I think it's a rift. Okay, anyway, here it is. So, are there any coins in there? Yeah, I see one. You probably don't see any, but I see one. It's not a very deep rift. No, not very deep at all. To me, it doesn't look so impressive, to be honest. And just as I thought, it doesn't really impress me as a sacrificial place. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the whole story about it being a sacrificial place is created for tourism at the start of the 1800s, at the rise of Karelianism, when the first tourist attractions were built here. So they created this story about this rift being an ancient sacrificial site, but I don't think it is. It's just a rift. Here you can see some of the first tourists have carved their name into the rock. There's 821. And the oldest coins that have been found in there are also from the 1800s. But the whole area of KOLI has been a site for sacrificial and all kind of spirit worship much before that. So if this was a sacrificial site, they probably would have found some much older stuff in there as well. So here, as you see, the first tourist snare of Pielinen Karelia. Rewind. So I just say that this is the first tourist snare and there's nothing to it before that. But I have to take some of that back. Now that I stood here for a little while. I think there is something to this place. Although I don't think it's a sacrificial place. I think what you're meant to do here is to just go down here and press your ear to the crack, cheek to cheek with the rock. Like so. And listen. Because I'll show you. This place is at the very end of this whole KOLI rock formation, and over there is land, over there is Lake Pielinen, all water, and you can only imagine what kind of a crossing point this is for all the elements that are around here. You can imagine how the sounds resonate in that very crack there, how the wind blows here in the valley here, how the rolling of the waves of the lake resonate, how the breeze in the forest and the many sounds of animals and all the echoes there sound, and the hum of the rock itself, how it all just kind of catches here and how it comes out as a sound from that crack. I think this is a remarkable place, but it's not for sacrificial. This might even be one of those places where witches and shamans found the words of creation and words of spell crafting. There is a story about this place. Well, I'll tell it later. But no, and she died there here the side of the rock. I think even if that story is made up later, I think that really should be a hint that this is not, you're not supposed to buy your happiness here with bribing the spirits. You're just supposed to listen. So now that the sacrificial rift was dismantled and remantled at the same time, let's head to the actual sacrificial and worshipping places, the real power places, coming up next. We stand in front of the Devil's Church. I'm going to pop in there in a moment. But before that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this place. This was one of the very strongest power places of the witches of KOLI, such as Vaarajaska Eronen and witch of Hölje Käiskelinen, and the most famous of them was likely the witch Kinolainen. There's a cold breeze here, cold air coming from somewhere within the rock, I think. It's certainly not coming from outside. Lovely cold wind. Interesting. It is said that this whole church here, from the very entrance to the back here, is only an entrance hall to the actual church itself, which lays somewhere within the rock. And who can climb up there? There should be a little hole that you can peek through to the actual church hall. the place itself. And I can see why people think that way, because right here there is like a wind here, like a cold wind right here. If I had a feather or a lighter, you could see the flame like flickering right here, because it's not just a vibe, it's actual cold wind here that you can feel. It's not coming from outside, because it's actually a very warm day, and if it came from outside it would be very warm wind, but here it feels like a cold wind. Look how wide that paper looks like. This is not any not special effects. Wow, that's like blue. Just a piece of paper with me. Wow, how that shines! Woo! Wow. When witch Kinolainen died, he disappeared from his coffin and reappeared in the Devil's Church. So, witch Kinolainen, Höljekä witch Eskelinen, and Varjaska are some of the most famous witches who used KOLI for their spiritual and magic purposes, because of the spirits, the devils, the higher powers that resided in this area. So, what were these devils and higher powers and spirits? The folklore doesn't describe them very well. It seems that they sometimes take a human form or a devil form, a physical form, and sometimes they are simply the spirits that are in the air, in the rock, and so forth, like in many mysticism concepts. However, their name has preserved very strongly in folklore as the high hosts of KOLI, the murderous men of Mustarinta. And I think that describes their nature pretty well. They are very powerful and very fearsome, and a very good reason for ordinary people to avoid them. I'm sad to say that whatever spirits might have lived here in the Devil's Church are not here anymore. Well, just look at that. What a way to ruin a perfect hillside. And this same effect continues over there to the tourist trap. There is the skiing slopes have been raked over the hilltop. Some poet described them as the claw marks of a beast, and that is what I feel about them too. The tranquility of this place has definitely been broken, and the spirits of KOLI don't live here anymore, although they are not far away. Now, due to the dreadful and powerful nature of the high hosts of KOLI, they were considered very good at laying judgment. So, when the people actually did come here, they came here to lay justice over the criminals. And usually this happened by throwing the criminal off the cliff, tied to a board or two. and the spirits of this place would then determine a just fate for his landing. Not everybody died. Like, for example, one murderer got off the fall just with a broken leg. That's pretty lucky. So I guess the murderous men of Mustarinta might have felt somehow empathic towards their colleague. You never know. These rocks are not in their original formation. As you can see, they are laid out in the shape of a cross. Yeah, there's a cross there. So that is because in 1740s, if I remember right, a vicar called Korpiaakko came here with a bunch of men he had hired from Karelia and Savolax to sack this place. He had received an order for doing this from higher authorities of the Swedish crown, and the reason to this was because, well, basically the church had very little say here, and the influence of the church did not spread much wider than the church itself. So something has to be done, and the vicar Korpiaakko was very lucky that there was this place called KOLI, because at the time witchcraft and burying in old pagan graveyards and practicing all kind of folk magic was very, very common. Everybody did it. So what do? You can't just burn everyone. So he was lucky that in his region there was this place called KOLI, which was a center for shamanistic ritual culture and all that jazz. So he was able to focus his efforts to destroying this place, and so he did. So unfortunately, in the process were destroyed a lot of old pagan graveyards, a lot of sacrificial sites, the magic huts of Ukko Kinolainen and Vaarajaska Eronen. Kinolainen's hut was placed upon Ukko-Koli, and Vaarajaska Eronen's hut was placed in Ketravaara, though I didn't find that name on the map anymore. It's still there somewhere, or used to be. It's a sad event, but it had to happen. First of all, the influence of the church was very vague before that, and after this purification of KOLI area, people were actually able to move here. So the first settlers came here around the turn of the 1800s, and soon after that the tourism also began to flourish. So after that event, the Korpiaakko sent a report to the authorities that this deed had been done, and after a while the bishop's visit provided a report that there were no more pagan tradition, witchcraft, shamanism, or anything of the kind to be found in Pielinen Karelia. Huh. Looks like this place hasn't been sacked. Strange. Maybe this is a little bit too far from the actual KOLI and other places. This definitely hasn't been moved. Yep. So here you see an actual spiritual rock here, and I believe these other rocks are placed here also, so